Hello there, and welcome to Eunice. Eunice is the only company in the entire world that does simply two things. One is we help you find your life purpose. The second is that we help you find your personal style, often known as personal branding, but that's not the right language. So, your life purpose, think of it like a boat, somewhere or other. You're traveling somewhere and you need to know where you're going. And you also need to know what it feels like on the boat. What sort of boat are you traveling on? Are you traveling on a boat that has jazz, disco? What's the culture? So those two things come together in what we call Eunice. Now, we are covering the 12 major religions. We've already done a series on a sort of prequel introduction. We've done a series, an overview of the world religions, and also, who believes in heaven and hell and reincarnation and so on and so forth. And now we're diving into what each of the religions say about purpose. Because we at Eunice were thinking we need to understand our context, not our context, sorry, the context of other people, loads of people who have very different religions. And so, as part of that, we wanted to, in a very practical way, ask a simple question: what do the major religions say about finding your purpose? So we're going to cover Christianity, Islam, and also Hinduism today. We're just going to very briefly give you a sense of what those religions believe and also how they help you with purpose. Now, we are not the last word on this. We wouldn't pretend to be. We've drawn heavily from the book called The 12 Religions by Jason Boyett. And this is our overview of three religions. So the largest religion in the world is Christianity. And, if you were to synthesize that down into a very few sound bites, which is dangerous, but nonetheless necessary, you would say that Christianity is probably about forgiveness and love. That the core beliefs are that Jesus was the Son of God, that he came to relieve people from original sin, that a life, if you follow Christ, will lead you to become and go to heaven. That your core behaviors are around following the 12 commandments, which obviously came from Moses. That your core practices are around looking after other people more than yourself, prayer, worship. And then we come to a simple question, which is: does Christianity directly tell you how to find your life purpose? And we could go indirect, semi-direct, or direct. And we would conclude with Christianity, this is not in any way a judgment, but we would conclude that it is indirect, in that essentially, if you follow the life of Christ, then you will be on purpose. Whether that's clear enough for you or not clear enough, very hard for us to say. But essentially, we would rule that as indirect. So let's move on to Islam, which is the second largest religion in the world. And we believe it's largely about submission. And some lovely quotes from the Quran. For you, God is one, so to him submit. Another is, and for those who fear Allah, otherwise known as God, he will make their life easy. So Muslims actually, embrace Noah, Abraham, Jesus, and most of the other prophets in the Old Testament and New Testament. And they would argue that Muhammad effectively was the newest prophet, was the most recent prophet, and took notice of all the others. They have some pretty astonishingly positive things about their religion. The key being, particularly for a non-Muslim audience, that they have obligatory charity. So they have something called zakat and sadaqah. So zakat is essentially you give away 2.5% of your wealth to charities. And sadaqah is this ongoing requirement for, if you like, soft charity, for constantly being charitable. So what does Islam say about finding your purpose? Once again, we find it indirect. Indirect in that if you submit yourself to the will of Allah, if you submit yourself to that, you'll get to know the Creator better. If you get to know the Creator better, then he, she, it, whatever, will guide you. And so there's a kind of sanctity about that submission. And therefore, any sort of secular or non-religious way of interpreting that can be viewed with a little bit of probably a bit more than suspicion, in that if you submit to Allah, you're okay. At Yunus, we're not going to comment on that. We're very pragmatic about it. We say embrace religion if you have it, and Yunus, and that's our position. So the last religion to cover in this video is Hinduism, which has 1 billion people around the world. Very misunderstood Hinduism. It is primarily about tolerance. So some great quotes would be, one should not behave toward others in a way that is disagreeable to yourself. And that is from the 13th book of the 18th book of the epic Mahabharata, which is the equivalent of the Quran or the Bible. In terms of their core beliefs, there's a sense in which the Brahman, there's a universal unknown force that is spread around the world. And in Hinduism, they don't believe in one God. There's a sense in which many gods make up one God. There are some principal gods. There is Vishnu, who articulates divine love. And there is Shiva, who is the taker of life and the kind of opposite of that. But there are all sorts of other gods. Ashima, is the goddess who has compassion for life. And there are so many other gods. But Hinduism is about saying there are lots of gods, but it all adds up to one thing. And again, the core question for us is around purpose. Does Hinduism kind of give you a clear road to purpose, to purpose? And the answer is not really. I suppose the takeout from the book by Jason Boyett on the 12 religions would be that you might pick a particular God and use that God as a role model to live your life by. But there's certainly no practical guidance on what would allow you to find your purpose. So of the 3 largest religions in the world, there is nothing direct about helping you with purpose. And that's somewhat discouraging for us, in that we were hoping to find some golden gems. But at the same time, that's okay. In that if you're part of one of these 3 religions and you follow them devoutly, you will probably find a purpose. Will it be your purpose? That's quite difficult to say. We are here to definitively work with you on finding what your purpose is and what your personal style is. And at the same time, we have reverence for those three large religions. And we very much hope that if you are from one of those large three religions and you're struggling in any way, then you feel comfortable approaching us at UMass. Our practical sign by on purpose is really simply this. If you have a pain in your back, you can pray for that pain to go away. And you can also take painkillers. So UMass is essentially a painkiller where we invite you also to draw in your spiritualism, your religion, if in fact that is something that you adopt. So that's about it. Hopefully we've covered those three religions well there, and I will find the little icon that stops me recording.